Hoa! Höga! Höga liget. Hubba. Usch. Usch, höga ligen. Höga ligen. Fy fan. Okay. So where did we leave off here? I'm gonna need to start making notes for this as well. Alright, I made a character screen. So now the question is, what do we do with that? And I almost wonder if it's like... Is it time to start rendering territory? Not sure. Because the characters are meant to belong to a domain, right? At least primarily so. The domain right now only contains names and stuff. Something like that. But then we would also need a public int capital. I don't think a domain should need a capital. I don't really know. Don't really know how we're gonna go about this exactly. Because the thing is, right now, the world is being... Well, we can do it like that, I guess. That makes sense to me. Have a draw inside of the domain. Takes a sprite batch, SB. And we'll have to... I wonder, is white the best color? So what we need is something like... What is the best solution for this? I'm just thinking how to draw the the hex border. But I don't know. I feel like it's ass. Because the problem here is that it's very easy to just draw the outline of a hexagon like this. But the issue that I'm trying to figure out the best way to solve right now is what if they're connected, right? Like what if they're connected like this? Because now is when it becomes kind of bullshit. Now you're gonna have to have like special rendering cases. Because as you can see here, this doesn't work. That doesn't work either. But this needs to be like that. So there needs to be, or like that. I'm not even sure which one we should do, but I think this one is maybe better. And the issue then is that, like, how do we solve this? Because I could have like could have like 6 different pieces of this and just be like, yeah, okay, if there's a border here, then we draw this piece, right? And then that way, if all of them border, or if all of them should be an edge, then we just draw all 6. But that only works in that scenario. It doesn't work when it needs to connect like this and actually look nice. But it's not, because it's not so easy. Because what I could do is I could make a hexagon for every single case. But I really don't want to do that. Because that could be like whatever, right? It could be anything. It could be in any order. Because you could do this programmatically, right? But man, why is this? Why am I running head first into a wall instantly? Oh my god, dude. I think we actually we actually have to chop it up and figure out like what works. So like let's say there's one here, right? Just deleting this work. I would say that's okay. Right, that's okay. But then if we put one here, what do we need to remove at minimum? That's not enough. It needs to remove like that much. Hold on. 1 second. I don't really want to draw lines by a code either. I just feel like that's gonna be so ass. Hmm. For each. X in X ownership. We'll say like if x minus 1 if hex ownership dot contains x minus 1 then continue. Well, no. Then do nothing. We're gonna check for negatives here. That's left. Man, this is too hard. We don't have the reverse. So I need index 1D to 2D. I think that should be correct. I'm not 100% sure, but Okay. Something like that. What do we need here? I feel like I need maybe another, like, hex position. I don't know. And then this should be hex position. And then that sets this position. Yeah, no, this is hex index. Right, so then we need to set the position, which is hex index dot x. Then we have that. This should all be set here already. Let's see here. Primitive. Basic effect. Jesus. Jesus. Yeah, that looks like a good enough solution. So let's see. Hex game entity. Be like this. Raw primitives. No. I'm dumb. Raw primitives. Oh no. Never mind. Man, that sucks. Yeah. And this kind of sucks. So we don't want to take a Sprite batch here. What is this? Neighbor offsets. What is this? Hex corner. Now this is a V vec 2I. Right. Be 7 maybe. Where are my types? I don't have a Vec 3. Oh. Okay, makes sense. Sure. Hmm. What is this? I don't know what a basic effect is at all. We'll just try this, see what happens. Okay. Okay. I think it actually worked. Sort of. Sort of, not really. Let's try that. Okay. It's drawing a line. But I think this is gonna suck, unfortunately, but we'll see. But I think this is still the best way to do it. Perhaps. But not necessarily. You know what? Let's not use that. We have a 2D hex index here, so we'll just say if hex index dot x minus 1 is less than 0. And here we'll say if x plus 1 is greater than or equal to matrix size. And next up, we need to say we're gonna check down there. This one is a little trickier. Oy. It has to be something like if hex index dot y and or wait, how the fuck, and 2 equals 0, then else yeah, because if I'm here and I want to check this tile down here, that's just down. That's just down. But if I am here and I want to check this here, because then down from here is here and down from here is here. So that means we have to go down +1. But I don't know exactly if it should be +1 here, maybe. Either way, we'll figure it out. We don't actually need to check for like out of bounds or anything. We just need to check if it's not contained. Okay, so then we want to draw maybe here 32, 60, 63. So 63, 47. In the same vein, I think this should be 15. But no, maybe not. Drawing a little line there. But looking at the line, those are jaggies. Or not a jaggy, that's the staircase. It's a little interesting. And it's a little weird too, because it's a staircase, but here, this one is actually drawing like in between. This is drawing a very large Because this is the size of a pixel. So the line it's drawing is actually 2 pixels wide for some reason. Oh my god, why is this so hard? Apparently, it cannot draw non-staircase lines. Jesus Christ, fucker. Do I have to create lines on a per dot basis? It wants me to draw like quads and shit to create the lines. Line quads. Man, do we have to try that? Oh. Okay. Fuck me. Oh, why is everything so fucking hard? But yeah. Okay, so let's see here. How do we do this? There's no way that drawing a 1x1 pixel texture to generate every single outline pixel is efficient. That's crazy. Well, I guess we'll pass these in as maybe this will be easier. The fuck is this? Direction perp. Perpendicular. Something like that. Works worse, but it does work. It should kind of match, or it should match with the yellow. But as you can see, it's overlapping the yellow outside. That's not quite right, but it's kind of working, I guess. Oh, shit. I'm still kind of confused why it's overlapping there. And why is it so thick? Gotta be something wrong with this setup here. Well, there shouldn't be an issue. Oh, fuck me. All right. So yep. Right, so now this is 1 pixel thick. Except for up here. For whatever reason. Multiply that by 0.5. Now it's 2 pixels thick again, isn't it? Okay. That seems to work. I mean, they're not supposed to be 1, but I want it to work properly. But we're still not having any luck with these not being staircases, which I think might be like unsolvable, but it also doesn't matter because they're supposed to be a bit thicker. It would still be nice to be able to draw it as a non-staircase. Is there really no way to draw a fucking line? Are you kidding me? I love this. I suggest you use the library for that, like this one, Primitives 2D. No need to implement that on your own. It works like the code in blah 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 blah. Yep, you just use this library. You click it. 404 repository not found. Down left. That's gonna be... This here is... Down left here is... -1. And then up left. It's the same, isn't it? Yeah, it's the same. And then we copy this one. We say upright. We just change that to plus. And then this is 32, 0. $64. I assume 16. Okay, so now we have an outline there. Now let's try adding some more. Get the matrix size dot x. Then we add a couple more. Just to see it in action. Well, that didn't work very well. I mean, I might have some idea of what's wrong here, but I feel like if this would have like crossed, like drawn some lines from like here to here or whatever, this would have made a lot more sense to me. Now... maybe we should put this inside of each for each. See, this one works. Why does this one not work? I think I know. We're checking in reverse. So, 0, 1, 2, 3. If we set 4 as well. Hello, Charles. If we set 4, the 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's the X and Y that's wrong somehow. Yeah. I think I understand. Where I put these in the wrong ones. So like up left should be maybe in down right or down left? Yeah, I'm trying to draw some outlines around my tiles. Now let's actually think about this. Right, so I'm trying to draw to the up left. But that's gonna have to be negative. Negative. And down is positive. Positive. Let's try that. Yeah, okay. Now it draws properly. So you see, now we can render the domain. Poorly. But we can. So now that we have done that, prefabs dot characters dot randomized character test jar. Test name. Test surname. Test. Test title. Character char equals. Nope. Test char equals that. And then we say master domain dict dot add or 0 dot add dot character ownership dot add test char dot id. And now we have the character window. The character window handle mouse input, right? Left click. Set selected hex. And when we do set selected hex, I also want to say public list character list fetch character list, and then this is gonna be int domain ID, I guess. And then we're gonna say for each var character in master domain dict domain ID dot character ownership, or should we say for int char ID in character ownership, we'll say list character new list equals new list. Let's call it char list. Char list dot add master character master dict char ID return char list. And then we want a public void update character window. Int domain ID. Well, I don't know what it needs. Let's call, say, public domain fetch domain vec2i x index. Now here's the question, like, should the hex contain an integer that points towards its domain belonging? Because that way I can just read it from the hex instantly. Because it's like a trade-off between, do I keep that data in the hex, which bloats the memory usage of the hex grid, which is probably not that big of a deal because it doesn't use a lot of data at all, and it's not like that big. But it still would mean that it would eat more memory, and I don't know exactly like how big I want the map to be. So using memory is kind of bad, but at the same time, what we have to do then instead here, in order to like get the domain of the tile, we have to, for each domain master domain dict, we have to say if master domain dict dot value, no, if item dot value dot tile hex ownership dot contains hex index, let's get the ID here, int hex ID equals dot index 2D to 1D hex index dot x hex index dot y grid matrix, no, dot matrix size dot x, and then hex 1D or hex ID. Then we're gonna return item dot value. Otherwise we return null. Could it be useful for cross-reference, like by player or enemy unit? I don't know. I don't think so. Well, it could be. Like, it would be useful to have which nation, or the domain is like a, the reason I call it that is because I don't know what kind of area it's gonna be. It's gonna be some kind of ownership area, right? So yeah, a tile belonging to like your enemy that could affect attrition or something like that, or it maybe like it would be easier, but it's also one of those things that it's not necessarily a good thing, even if it is easier, because when it comes to your tiles or your hexagons, it depends on how much data you have. Because like if you have like 1,000 then it's not that big of a deal to have a bunch of integers and stuff and references inside of the hexagons. But if you have 10 million, you know, then things start being a bit different. But I do think that we won't have a map that's that like so big that it'll actually become a huge problem. Compared to in Legends of Terrestria, there the map has, like, this is a 2D map. There it's a 3D map, which causes it to grow exponentially very fast. Because there, just a map that's 1,000 times 1,000 tiles, that's 1,000,000. But it might also have 50 layers, so then it's 50 million. And then having integers in there starts to add up fast. But it doesn't need to like contain anything huge. It could be a byte reference to a domain, perhaps. But I don't know. Because I'm just thinking like super long term, just like what if, just in case. Because then I'm thinking like, okay, what if we have as many nations as like real, like on Earth? Earth has about 100 nations, and then each nation consists of a bunch of subsections. Like Sweden is like 21, I guess counties is like the right word, I guess. And then you might want each of those to be a domain. Like those are the domains. That's kind of how I was thinking it. And then you have a nation. You know, like the domains can belong to whatever. They can belong to an alliance, they can belong to a nation, they can belong to a kingdom, they can belong to whatever. It actually doesn't affect the frame rate, but it does affect memory usage, which is basically it's gonna crash. The second you run out of memory, it crashes. It's actually avoiding having tile, because avoiding having the data on the tile is what causes the frame rate loss, because that means that whenever you have to access something, when you interact with a tile, you can't just fetch that data through the tile. You have to go and like use the tile's like position and its ID in order to access it in some list somewhere, and you have to go and like search through that data until you find the correct thing, then you access that. And if that's something that has to be done like a lot every frame, then it's an issue. If it's done once when I click on a tile, it's not an issue. But like if you imagine, what if the AI has to do this every single update that it tries to do something? Like it's trying to read the tiles around itself to figure out like, what should I do? Where should I move this unit? Does this tile belong to me? You know, whatever. And if the AI has to do all of that, and just it needs to do like, it has to check itself against lists and shit all the time, then that will have a serious frame rate impact. And that's where having, like, being able to access things through the tile itself could be useful, but I don't know. It's not really, like, super worth thinking about early, but it is worth thinking about a bit. Hey. Bye. We don't need to do this way. We can just say domain dot character ownership. Then we do that, and then here it says update character window. And then for now, what we should do is we say character window dot update. Makes me think of those videos I watched about like pathfinding in an RTS game. Got way too complicated for me. Yeah. That's kind of the same thing. Well, it's not exactly, but kind of. Because the issue with the pathfinding there is that every time the character moves, every single character moves. So then you have to like recalculate you have to recalculate the pathfinding all the time, because you can't just make a path and then follow that path somewhere, because the next frame when everything is moved, then that might have changed your obstacles because you have a bunch of guys next to you, and yeah, stuff like that. It's kind of similar, but not exactly. But it is because you have to access every single object around you and check against, like, you know, collision against all of those. That eats up a lot. But then it is the fact that they're all like trying to pathfind through each other and shit. So. Yeah, RTS games are actually really complicated. And it's almost all around the pathfinding, to be honest. Like, you really need to optimize that so that the units can move smoothly. But it's not like that hard either. But it is kind of tricky. You can kind of like, instead of making every unit pathfind, you can create like a pathfinding thing, sort of, where if you have like 10 units selected, you can create like a path from their like center, this like the center of the selection almost, and that way you can create a path for like that grouping of units, and then they can move along a path without having to like recheck their own pathfinding the whole, like, all the time and stuff like that. It's actually kind of interesting, but I have no interest in making an RTS at all. I don't know exactly how well it works in StarCraft 1, because I think in StarCraft 1 it has a lot of issues with them getting caught on each other. I think in like Warcraft 3 it works a lot better, but even there it's kind of bad. They get stuck on each other a lot. I think there they solve it a lot by just making the units move in formations. Like your units don't stand tightly next to each other, I think, in Warcraft 3. Maybe they do. No, they're doing, I think they do it the way I said. It's like they try to move as a block whenever they move there. But then you have issues with like one unit being faster than another, and then he has to start like trying to pathfind around the other unit and stuff, but yeah. I don't know how long we'll stream today, probably not that much. I didn't feel like doing anything, so I just felt like, yeah, you know, we'll program a little bit, I guess. But it's actually almost midnight already. Actually haven't played much Warcraft, I might look into that. Yeah, Warcraft 3, I feel like it plays kind of like a hybrid between StarCraft and StarCraft 2 in terms of just unit group movement. It's still kind of janky, but it definitely, like, they still move better than they do in StarCraft. In Warcraft 2, like, they all just have individual pathfinding. I'm pretty sure. But maybe not. I don't know. No, they can't have. Like, there has to be some stuff. Because otherwise they wouldn't be able to, like, move. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so we're fetching the character list. I think an IRL friend had Warcraft 2, played it once. Is it a good game? Yeah, it's a pretty cool game. I actually think Warcraft 2, StarCraft 1, and Diablo 2 are Blizzard's best games in terms of like overall feeling. For me, Warcraft 3 is where Blizzard died. StarCraft 1 is a really cool game. I mean, I don't think RTS games make sense as like single player campaign games at all. But like the overall atmosphere, the music, the sound effects, the art style, all of it is like honestly at that point Blizzard's reputation was deserved. And after that, they just like absolutely tanked. Like, I don't like Warcraft 3 at all. I think it's a garbage game. And everything that is good about StarCraft is bad about Warcraft 3, in my opinion. Because it's just goofy, it's just... Yeah, I don't know. Base game missions are all pretty bad, but there are interesting missions in StarCraft expansion. I just don't think that the genre is a real genre outside of PvP. It's like the way the game mechanics work don't make sense versus CPU. Like, that's my issue with it. I think it like fundamentally isn't a real single player genre. Just like fighting games are not single player games. Like, you can't play Street Fighter story mode It doesn't make sense. The gameplay doesn't function. Because it, like if you're playing Street Fighter story mode or like Tekken or whatever, the game just turns into like either you just button mash because you're a retard and you've never played a fighting game before, or if you know how to play a fighting game, you only have two options. It's either you just land the biggest combo you can every single time, or you just like repeatedly throw the computer, or you like land meaty sweeps, meaning like when they stand up, it immediately hits as like a sweep or something. And then you just like spam that over and over again, because the way a fighting game works, you can't, like when you're playing Devil May Cry or something, you are up against enemies that have certain traits. So you'll fight them in different ways. Like, oh, this is a sword, this is a shield enemy. So what are you gonna do? Like, yeah, either you just giga like overwhelm the shield in DMC4, or you jump behind them and attack them from behind, or whatever. Or you wait for them to like open their shield or something. In fighting games, that doesn't exist. It's because it just becomes like, it's just they just do random moves, so you can't outplay or like think about like what the AI is gonna do or whatever, because that's how fighting games work. It's all a psychology game, really. And RTS games are exactly the same, but to a lesser degree. Like, I think RTS games, when you're just playing the campaign, it works more as just like, you know, a game that feels a bit more like a game, and it's not as cheesy, but it does just become about like spam units, walk units to enemy base, you know. And that's about it. There's an element of time, yeah, but the element of time, yeah, it's basically just like a macro check. Like, are you able to play the game while you're also building units? That's what it boils down to. I mean, that's what the story, like the story is, or the campaign is really meant, because StarCraft is a PvP game. Like, it isn't a campaign game. It's not a single player game. It is a game about the PvP, and the campaign is there in order to teach people the game, right? Like, you're supposed to just learn the units, and you're also supposed to learn to like build units a bit and what buildings are and stuff. So like that's like the real function of the campaign. And that's fine. Music stopped. I just wanted to see if we could get this to do something today. Update character window. Just like fighting games, I wouldn't be able to compete in PvP. Well, I mean, depends on who you're playing. But fighting games don't make sense at all as single player games. RTSs do a little bit, but I don't think they truly work. It's like they work as long as you're bad enough at the game that you don't really understand why it doesn't work. If that makes sense. It works until you understand the game, and then it is stupid. But most games, or almost all games, really just rely on the overall vibes and the experience. So like a system making sense isn't necessarily like necessary for a game to be like good or bad to the average person. So it doesn't really matter. It's just the fact that you have like a bunch of units you control, you can build stuff, and you know, you like the concept of it and whatever. And that's something that RTS games have that, you know, nothing else offers. And I think much more so than a fighting game, because fighting games are just weird single player. I don't understand people who play them single player at all. But I can definitely understand an RTS. To me, that's the most important thing to understand as a game developer or a game designer, or a systems designer especially, that a good system isn't necessarily a good game, and also to understand that for most people the systems aren't really what the game is about. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with actually wanting to have a system that makes sense. For the most part, systems are like... It doesn't really matter if the system is good, but it matters if the system is bad. You can't have a system that is, like... annoying. So this is just an entity. That doesn't help. Let's see. So we have a character window. How does this work? Window behavior. I'm too tired to figure this out, but is it in behaviors? We have the character window, right? Here's the character window. And it's setting portraits. And then we have all of this bullshit. I think I give up. Oh, it's too much. It's too much work to get this to do something. Ooh. Because yeah. I think you shouldn't even have like a character window that we can access just like that. You should only be able to access the character window by clicking on a character. So what we need to do is we need to make a domain window that can show us info about the current selected domain. Or the last selected domain. And then in that domain list, we'll have a list of characters. And then we'll have to make a scroll window, which is gonna suck balls. And then in there you can click on the character and then it'll open the window, and then there we will set everything. And then it'll show the last selected character. Yeah. I'm gonna go watch Chinese TV. It's super late. And I was tired already. So yeah. At least we got some stuff done. Not horrible. We are rendering some lines. That's good. Rendering some lines. Oh. Clicking on it. Fucked up the game. Okay. But yeah. Until next time. Thanks, Ryan. Have a good night. Bye-bye.